Welcome to Dahoy number 6. Nothing to be given. There has never been anything to give to people. Only folks who have been able to point out the road for people. An ancient worthy said, having some attainment is the jackal's yelp. Having no attainment is the lion's roar. Buddha was someone who had mastered adaptation. In the course of 49 years, in more than 360 assemblies where he taught the Dharma, he guided people according to their individual faculties. Thus he preached with one voice through all realms, while sentient beings each obtained benefits according to their kind. It's like one gust of the east wind and the myriad grasses all bend down. The Dharma preached by the Buddha is also like this. If he had the intent to create benefit in all realms, then this would have been preaching the Dharma egotistically. To want to cause myriad beings to gain deliverance according to their kind, isn't this after all impossible? Haven't you read how Shariputra, at the assembly where the perfection of wisdom was preached, asked Manjushri, "Don't all Buddhas, the Tathagatas, awaken to the realm of truth?" Manjushri said, "No, Shariputra, even the Buddhas cannot be found. How could there be Buddhas who awaken to the realm of truth?" I don't want to disturb my neighbor. Even the realm of truth cannot be found. How could it be realized by the Buddhas? You see how those two men spurred each other on this way? When did they ever set their minds on anything? All the Buddhas and all the ancestral teachers since antiquity have had a style like this in helping people. It's just that later descendants have lost the essence of the school and set up their own individual sects, making up strange things and concocting marvels. Profound clarity. I'm giving you the name Chan-Jan, profound clarity. An ancestral teacher said, as long as there is mental discrimination and calculating judgment, all the perception of one's own mind are dreams. If mind and consciousness are quiescent and extinct, without a single thought stirring, this is called correct awareness. Once awareness is correct, then in your daily activities 24 hours a day, when seeing form, hearing sound, smelling scent, tasting flavor, feeling touch, or knowing phenomenon, whether walking, standing, sitting, or laying down, whether speaking or silent, active or still, there's nothing that's not profound clarity. And since you don't engage in wrong thinking, all is pure whether there is thinking or not. Once you've obtained purity, when active you reveal the function of profound clarity, and when inactive you return to the essence of profound clarity. Though essence and function are distinguished, the profound clarity is one. Like when you cut up sandalwood, each and every piece is sandalwood. These days, there's a kind of phony whose own standpoint is not genuine. They just teach people to control their minds and sit quietly, to sit to the point where the breath ceases. I call this lot pitiable. I'm asking you to meditate in just this way, but I instruct you like this. It's just that there's no other choice. If there really were something to work on in meditation this way, it would defile you. This mind has no real substance. How can you forcibly bring it under control? If you try to bring it under control, where do you put it? Since there's no place to put it, there's no times or seasons, no past or present, no ordinary people or sages, no gain or loss, no quiet or confusion. There's no name of profound clarity, and no essence of profound clarity, and no function of profound clarity. No one who speaks thus of profound clarity, and no one to hear such talk of profound clarity. Beginner's disease. Buddha's preached all doctrines to save all minds. I have no mind at all, so what's the use of any doctrines? Basically, there is nothing in any doctrine, and no mind in mind. The emptiness of mind and things both is their real character. But these days, students of the path often fear falling into emptiness. Those holding such views misapprehend expedient means and take the disease for the medicine. They are to be pitied deeply. Therefore, Layman Pang said, "Don't be adverse to falling into emptiness. Falling into emptiness isn't bad." He also said, "Just vow to empty all that exists. Don't make real that which doesn't exist." If you can see through this one saying, then the ignorance born of boundless evil deeds will instantly melt away and disperse. Even the whole great canon preached by the Tathagata cannot explain this one sentence. Don't be adverse into falling into emptiness. Falling into emptiness isn't bad. Just vow to empty all that exists. Don't make real that which doesn't exist. If a person has certain faith and knows that there is such a method of great liberation, and if in that knowing he turns the key of transcendence, then Layman Pang's saying and the whole great canon preached by the Buddha are no different. Without before or after, ancient or modern, lack or excess. Such a person neither sees that any doctrines exist, nor sees that any minds exists. The world in all directions is empty and vast. But don't entertain the view of vast emptiness. If you hold this view, then there is someone expounding emptiness, and someone who hears emptiness being expounded. Then there are all doctrines to be heard, and all minds to be experienced. What the hay is happening here? Noise was made. It was my heater falling. Ding, 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 ding. Once there's something to be heard and experienced, then within there is the realizing mind, and without there is a dharma to be realized. Unless this disease is removed, the teachings call it expounding the dharma egotistically. It is also called slandering the Buddha, dharma, and community. It also says in the teachings, if you cling to the aspect of dharma, then you are attached to self, person, living beings, and life. If you cling to the aspect of anti-dharma, you're attached to self, person, living beings, and life. This is the same principle as what I said previously about having realized mind within and an external truth realized. Buddhist disciple Ch'in, you have realized that personal existence is false and that things are illusionary. Amidst illusionary falseness, you were able to contemplate the saying, a dog has no Buddha nature. Suddenly, while washing your face, you found your nose and sent me a letter expressing your understanding, trying your hand at explaining Chan. This was like a 3-day-old tiger cub who already has the spirit to devour an ox. The message conveyed therein, though, was like a lucky monkey hitting the ground with a stick. Where it hit, it went in a few inches, and where it whisked, it had no grasp of the issue at all. Though, in the main, your basis is already correct, you are not yet clear about the great Dharma. This is a common disease of beginners entering the path. If you can realize such a thing, push it to one side and take the essential gate of all the Buddhas and ancestral teachers and shut it at once. Only if you find a life on the other side of the primordial Buddha will you gain mastery of the Dharma. Old Shakyamuni Buddha said, if you only praise the Buddha vehicle, sentient beings are submerged in suffering. Once you fully realize such matter as this, you can extend and fulfill what you yourself have realized. Therefore, you will not be bound by things, and you won't seek to escape from things. When this way is all right, and not this way is all right too, this way or not this way, it is all right. Whatever you say or do, you are like a strong man flexing his arm. You don't rely on anyone else's strength. Once the arrow has left the bowstring, it has no power to return. It is not forced, since the Dharma is as it is. Only when you've understood like this can you begin to say that there's no good or bad, no Buddha or sentient beings, and so on. But right now, without being clear about the great Dharma, if you say such things, then I'm afraid you're going to fall into what Jung Chia called realizing emptiness, denying cause and effect, wild and reckless, incurring calamity. You shouldn't be unaware of this. Just get to the root. Don't worry about the branches. Over a long time, it'll sink in thoroughly. Don't worry that you won't attain oneness. Work on it. See the Tathagata everywhere. Buddha also said, do not see the Tathagata in one teaching, one phenomenon, one body, one land, or one sentient being. You should see the Tathagata everywhere, in all places. Buddha means enlightened awareness, meaning to be totally aware always, in all places. Seeing the Tathagata everywhere means to see the original source of oneself, the naturally real Buddha of inherent nature. There is not a single time or place, or teaching, or phenomenon, or body, or land, or world of sentient beings that it does not extend through. Sentient beings miss this, and revolve in routines of the three worlds, experiencing all kinds of suffering. Buddhas realize this and transcend the ocean of all existence, experiencing supreme, wonderful bliss. Nevertheless, neither suffering nor bliss has any real substance. But since delusion and enlightenment are different, suffering and bliss go separate ways. Thus, Tu Shun said, when the body of reality resolves in the five paths, it is called sentient beings. When sentient beings appear, the body of reality does not appear. Footnote: Tu Shun was the first ancestral teacher of Huayin Buddhism in China. The Buddha's body of reality is the absolute reality, the formless and unchanging essence of everything. Within the pure body of reality, there is not a form that does not or that doesn't appear, according to Huayin. The five paths are in hell, as hungry ghosts, as animals, as humans, and as demonic spirits. Good and evil all arise from one's own mind. But tell me, besides your activities, thoughts, and discrimination, what do you call your own mind? Where does your mind come from? If you can discern where your own mind comes from, then boundless karmic obstruction will be cleared away instantly, and all sorts of marvels will come of themselves without being sought. Where do we come from at birth? Where do we go at death? If you know where we come from and where we go, then you could be called a student of Buddha. Who is it who knows birth and death? And who is it who experiences birth and death? Again, who is it who doesn't know where we come from and where we go? Who is it who suddenly realizes where he comes from and where he goes? And who is it who, contemplating these words, blinks his eyes, unable to understand, his belly churning up and down, as if a massive fire were placed in his heart? If you want to know, just apprehend him at the point where he can't understand. If you could recognize him then, you'll know that birth and death surely have nothing to do with him. Whenever you're reading the scriptures or the stories of the ancient worthies entering the path, when your mind doesn't understand clearly, and it seems bewildering and stifling and flavorless, as if you're gnawing on an iron spike, this is just the time to apply effort. Above all, you must not give up. This is the place where conceptual knowledge does not operate, where it does not reach, where discrimination is cut off and the path of reason is annihilated. Where you can always explain reasons and apply discriminations, this all pertains to emotional consciousness. Time and Again, people take this thief as their son. Don't be unaware of this. Before seeking. You've indicated that you want me to instruct you by letter in the direct essentials. This very thought of seeking instruction in the direct essentials has already stuck your head into a bowl of glue. Although I shouldn't add another layer of frost to the snow, nevertheless, where there's a question, it shouldn't go unanswered. I ask you to abandon all at once all the joy you've ever felt in reading the words of the Scriptures yourself, or when being aroused and instructed by others. Be totally without knowledge and understanding, as before, like a 3-year-old child. Though the intimate consciousness is there, it doesn't operate. Then contemplate what's there before the thought of seeking the direct essentials arises. Observe and observe. As you feel you're losing your grip more and more, and your heart is more and more uneasy, don't give up and slack off. This is the place to cut off the heads of 1,000 sages. Students of the path often retreat at this point. If your faith is thoroughgoing, just keep contemplating what's before the thought of seeking instruction in the direct essentials arises. Suddenly you will awaken from your dream, and there won't be any mistake about it. Don't consciously wait enlightenment. Whether you're happy or angry, in quiet or noisy places, you still must bring up Chow Chow's saying, a dog has no Buddha nature. Above all, don't consciously await enlightenment. If you consciously await enlightenment, you're saying, right now I'm deluded. If you wait for enlightenment, clinging to delusion, though you pass through countless eons, you will still not be able to gain enlightenment. As you bring up the saying, just arouse your spirit and see what principle it is. Constantly take the two concerns, not knowing where we come from at birth and not knowing where we go at death, and stick them on the point of your nose. Whether eating, drinking, whether in quiet or in noisy places, you should make scrupulous efforts from moment to moment, always as if you owed someone millions with no way out, your heart sorely troubled, with no opening to escape. Searching for searching for birth, it cannot be found. Searching for death, it cannot be found. At such a moment, the roads of good and evil are immediately cut off. When your awareness has gotten like this is precisely the time to apply effort. Contemplate the story right here. A monk asked Chow Chow, or Joshu, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? Chow Chow said, no. As you contemplate this, don't try to figure it out. Don't try to explain it. Don't demand clear understanding. Don't take it verbally, and don't continue the raising of it as the principle. Don't fall into empty quiescence. Don't consciously anticipate enlightenment. Don't take your understanding from the explanation of the teachers of our school. Don't drop it into a bag of unconcern. Whether walking, standing, sitting, or laying down, just constantly call the story to mind. Does a dog have Buddha nature or not? No. When you can keep your attention on it fully, when verbal discussion and intellectual consideration cannot reach, and your heart is agitated, when it's like gnawing on an iron spike without any flavor, then you must not falter in your intent. When you get like this, after all, it's good news. Haven't you read the old worthy saying? Buddha preached all things to save all minds. I have no mind at all, so what is the use of any teaching? It's not just in the tradition of the patriarchs that it's like this. The whole great canonical teaching spoken by Buddha is also this same principle. Sentient beings' obstruction by evil deeds is serious. No sooner do they get out of bed each day than their minds fly around in confusion, thinking of fame and profit. They take up false concepts of others and self. continuing unbroken like this, the links of a chain, morning till night, without ever getting tired of it. If perchance they think of entering our school, they think about it intellectually and immediately want to understand it themselves. Since the judgments of the mind's conceptual discriminations do not apply here, they get annoyed and already want to give up, saying, "What reason is there?" People like this are beyond counting. But as you are not this way, Shun Yin, companion in the path, knowing that the empty falsehoods of this defective world with singleness of mind and intent, you want to understand where we come from when we're born, and where we go when we die, right where you are. Since you don't know where we come from, you don't know where we go either. The clear solitary light, present right here, the one that distinguishes right and wrong, good and bad for people, decides what is and what is not, what's true and what's false. Wait till you're like a man drinking water, who knows for himself whether it's cold or warm, and doesn't accept the judgment in the mouth of someone else. Suddenly you will burst forth, and reach the ultimate bliss and peace, the place of great rest and great surcease. Or surress. Resse, no cerise. Then, for the first time, you give your own approval. It is for this that you have sought my instruction. I have taken up my pen and written freely, producing a bunch of trailing vines. However, things do not arise by themselves. There must be a reason. If you understand this only as creeping vines and tangling complications, how will you get it? Haven't you read how in the old days Zen Master Tsuhui said, the ancestral teachers coming from the West only means that winter is cold and summer is hot. Night is dark and day is light. It's just that you vainly set up meaning where there is no meaning, create concern where there is no concern, impose inside and outside where there is no inside or outside, and talk endlessly of this, that where nothing exists. Therefore, your cessation cannot be perfectly clear, so that you cannot be independent of the senses and their objects. By this assessment, you have never come to my place seeking words of instruction, and I have never written a single word for you. Winter's cold, summer's heat, light's darkness, day's light, inside, outside, in between, east, west, south, north, have never varied, never increased or decreased, at least a little bit. What's the reason? Our school has no words and phrases, nor is there any doctrine to give people. Since there is not a single doctrine to give people, what's this that's written here? And what is it that speaks of winter, cold, summer, heat, inside, outside, in between? What is it that has never shifted east, west, south, north, a hair's breadth? Bah! Existence cannot be grasped. Non-existence cannot be grasped either. Winter's cold, summer's heat cannot be grasped. Inside, outside, and in between cannot be grasped. The one who speaks like this cannot be grasped. The one who hears such talk cannot be grasped either. Not even one fine hair can be grasped. Neither you nor I can be grasped. Ungraspability itself cannot be grasped. Amidst ungraspability, apprehending things in this way, when you get to this point, how will you seek? Even this, how will you seek, has no applicability. Hence these words too are not acceptable. Since these words are not accepted, I certainly have nothing to say, and you certainly have nothing to hear. No speech is true speech, and no hearing is true hearing. Thus I am you, and you are me, we are not two, you and I, because there's no duality, no distinction, and no separation. When the colossus of Chia Chao eats yellow lotus, and the iron ox of Shin She tastes the bitterness, bitter, not bitter, clearly behold what cannot be seen. Bah! Well, that's enough for tonight. Man, that was confusing. I'm probably going to have to meditate on that for 50 years. 5 seconds or less. Bye-bye.